There's been a change at the top. Let's get after it. Hey, welcome to Legend of the Iron Fleet Express. I told you Monday we were going to talk more about Russel Wilson and what was going on with him. He set a deadline of midnight on the 15th of April, which was Monday night, for a contract extension to be agreed upon by himself and the Seahawks franchise. He said that if that was not the case, he would not be signing anything after that date. Seahawks were going to probably use the franchise tag on him for the season and then talk about it after that, or he was going to enter free agency. They came to terms, they came to an agreement, and Russel Wilson walks away from the talks, from the negotiations, the highest paid player in NFL history. $140 million over 4 years. That's $35 million a season to play, and a $65 million signing bonus. He now is the highest paid player in the NFL, taking that spot away from Aaron Rodgers, who, let me see here, sits at $33.5 million per year. In third is Ryan at $30 million a year. Cousins at $28 million, and Garoppolo at $27.5 million. Does Wilson deserve to get paid like this? If you look at what he's done for that franchise since he has been in, he walked in, he started, I believe he was a day one starter. They didn't think he was going to, and then he just impressed everybody at camp, and he came out and started the season as the number one quarterback. And he did what he does. He wins games, he competes, and he just goes out and does what he needs to do to be that guy. I've always had a lot of respect for the guy. When he was at Wisconsin, was the year Nebraska, my favorite college team, played their first season in the Big Ten, and Wilson just made Bo Pelini, the defensive mastermind's defense, look like Swiss cheese. Ran all over it and threw and picked it apart. So Wilson has always impressed me. I've always liked the dude. I think he deserved to get paid here. So congratulations to him. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the top half of NFL quarterbacks and their salaries, and do these dudes really deserve the money they are getting? So I've already talked about the top five. I'm going to go back over it real quick. So you've got Wilson, Rodgers, Ryan, Cousins, and Garoppolo are your top five. Then you've got Stafford, Carr, Breeze, Luck, Smith, Flacco, Foles, Roethlisberger, Manning, Rivers, Newton, and rounding out the top half at number 16 is Tom Brady. When you look at some of this stuff, clearly the most successful one on this list in the top half is Tom Brady, making $14 million a year for base. Average after incentives is $20 million a year. But he's got 6 rings. He's got 30 wins and 10 losses in the postseason. So he's winning 3/4 of the games that he plays in the postseason, and he's got a 66% win percentage in the Super Bowl. The other 15 ahead of him combined are 79 and 68, so 53% win percentage in the postseason, and 9-4 in the Super Bowls, and that's 69%. Some of these dudes on this list, I have no idea how they're getting paid that much money. You've got Garoppolo, who has gotten injured and has never started in a playoff game, never made a Super Bowl. You've got Cousins, who's lost 2 playoff games and never made it to a Super Bowl. And those are 2 of your top 5 getting paid. And then you've got Ryan, who, if I can check here real quick, yeah, he's got a losing record and he's 0-1 in the Super Bowl. You've got Stafford, who is number 6, 0-3 the postseason, no Super Bowls. Carr never made it to the postseason. Breeze 8-7, so he's got a winning record, 1-0 in the Super Bowl. Luck 500 in the postseason, no Super Bowl appearances. Alex Smith 2-5 in the postseason, no Super Bowl appearances. Flacco 10-5, 1-0 in the Super Bowl. Foles 4-2, 1-0 in the Super Bowl. Then you got Roethlisberger's 13-8, so he is the only other one. He's the closest to Brady's playoff game win percentage, but he's at 13-8. He's the only one he's the second most winningest quarterback in the postseason in the top 16, and he's not even halfway to the wins that Brady has, but he almost has as many losses, and he's 2-1 in the Super Bowl. Manning 8-4, 2-0 in the Super Bowl. Rivers 5-6, no Super Bowls. Newton 3-4, 0-1 in the Super Bowl. I don't understand how some of these dudes' contracts are justified, but let's look at it. Does having the highest paid quarterback equal success? Not always. Brady has had smaller contracts. He's still getting paid a decent amount of money every season, but because he's not taking all that cap space up every year, they're able to go get players, even on a one-year contract, and ask them to play and paying them well to come and play for that team. And it's not all the players. The coaches are really good on New England. Don't get me wrong. A lot of respect for Belichick and what he's been able to do. But having the highest paid guy doesn't always equate to Super Bowl rings and wins. You've got to be able to afford to have players come and play for your team, because when it comes down to it, in the NFL, it is not just about the wins for some of these players. They are looking to get paid money. And if you've got one dude who's going to take up all that cap space, then somebody's going to suffer. If your offensive line suffers, you're not going to get a good offensive line, then your offense is going to struggle. If you're not going to pay your defense very well, you're not going to get good defenders, and people are going to score on you a lot. If you're not going to pay your receivers very well, you're not going to get dudes that can run great routes and catch. And you're not going to get dudes that are going to put their body on the line when the time comes, when they're being asked for. If you're not going to pay your running backs very well, you're not going to have a good ground game. And we all know that complementary football is the best kind of football to play. So looking at this, Russell Wilson got paid. Good for him. He's led that team to the success that they have had. Along with Pete Carroll, they had a really good defense, but they were able to pay some dudes. Now they're not going to be able to pay quite as much. I still think they can be successful with Wilson, but they're not going to be able to go out and get a lot of the big-name guys, or as many as they were able to before this contract was signed. And if that happens and they're not able to put as good of a team around Russell Wilson, is he the kind of quarterback that he can put the team on his back and lead and just carry them to a win? I don't think he is. He's a good quarterback. I have a lot of respect for the dude, but I don't see him being that guy that can just carry a team to victories. And there's not very many out there that can. So, yeah, he got paid, and that's the story. But in the long run, in the NFL, always having the highest paid dude is not always an indicator that your team is going to be successful or win a ring. I could be wrong. Seattle could win a Super Bowl this year. Who knows what's going to happen? But usually that's not the case. More than likely, or more times than not, what happens is the highest paid player, a lot of the times, don't even get their team to the playoffs. So we will see what happens They're putting all their eggs in one basket. Could be the downfall of the Seahawks, but it could not have any impact on what actually happens. So that's the end of the episode today. Let me know what you think. Is this a good thing? Did Wilson deserve to get this much? Did Wilson deserve to be the highest paid player? Let me know with your comments. Give the video a like, give it a share, give it a subscribe to the channel. And as always, we'll catch you next time.